If you ever see the black-eyed children, do not speak to them, do not let them inside, and whatever you do, do not look into their eyes, because once you do, they'll never stop coming. It was 1:30 a.m. in a quiet neighborhood, the kind where the streetlights flickered just a little too much, and the wind carried whispers you couldn't quite make out. Daniel Carter walked home alone, his breath visible in the cold air. The distant hum of cars on the highway was the only sound breaking the stillness, yet something felt off. Then he saw them. Two children stood at the edge of the sidewalk, barely illuminated by the flickering street lamp. A boy and a girl, motionless, too still. Their clothes were outdated, loose, faded, as if they belonged to another time. The boy's shirt was buttoned tightly to his throat, and the girl's dress hung limply over her thin frame. Their skin was unnaturally pale, almost waxy. "Excuse me, sir," the boy spoke first, his voice was flat, hollow. "Can we come with you? We're lost." Daniel's stomach clenched. Something in him, something primal, told him to run. Instead, he forced himself to walk past them, his pulse hammering in his ears. As he did, the girl grinned, a slow, unnatural stretch of her lips, revealing teeth too sharp, too perfect. Then he saw their eyes, black, pure, endless voids. No pupils, no whites, just darkness, staring into him, through him. Daniel's pace quickened, their footsteps didn't follow, but somehow, he felt them watching. His house was just ahead. The porch light flickered as he fumbled with his keys. His hands shook as he unlocked the door and shoved it open. Without looking back, he stumbled inside and slammed the door shut. Silence. He exhaled sharply, his heartbeat pounding in his ears. His house was dark, but familiar, safe. He pressed his forehead against the door, trying to shake the unease clawing at his chest. Then, tap, tap, tap. Daniel's breath caught in his throat, his head snapped to the peephole. They were already there. His stomach lurched as he took a shaky step back. That was impossible. But before his mind could process it, he heard something behind him. The sharp crack of shattering glass. His gaze whipped toward the hallway. A framed photo had fallen from the wall, its glass shattered across the floor. His stomach twisted as he stared at the picture. It was of him and his little brother Nathan. Nathan, who had died 10 years ago. A cold dread settled in his bones. Slowly, he turned back toward the door. The boy stood there, motionless, and then, he smiled. Daniel's breath turned to ice. The boy's features were unmistakable now. The curve of his jaw, the small scar above his lip. It was Nathan. But when Daniel looked into his face, into those eyes, he realized something was wearing his little brother's body. Like a hollow shell, something had filled it, twisting it into something unnatural. The black voids of his eyes pulsed, widening, stretching like an abyss, pulling Daniel in. And for the first time, the thing pretending to be Nathan spoke. "You left me, Danny.